Hi, Misha here, and tonight I was trying to think of things that I haven't revisited with the new camera, and it hit me that I really haven't talked about the ships from Aliens in quite a long time. So let's talk about a couple of craft of the US Colonial Marines from James Cameron's Aliens. Both are diecast models from Eaglemoss. Here we have the USS Sulaco, a Conestoga class light assault carrier. And of course, any carrier needs to carry something. And over here we have the UD-4L Cheyenne utility and assault dropship. Basically a combination of the A-10 Warthog and the UH-1 Huey. So yeah, let's talk a bit about specs and the movies, and let's just hang out and chat a bit. Why not? Here she is on the spinny thing. This was actually one of the first models I talked about on the channel a couple of years ago. Like I said, it is die-cast from Hobbymaster. Sorry, it's late. It's die-cast from Eaglemoss. And while it's not the largest in the world, it's actually very solid feeling. It's quite weighty. And it's not small. It's nearly a foot long. It's just very thin. And the metal content is quite high. Of course, like the other Eaglemoss, it doesn't have moving parts like the turrets. They're stationary, but that's just how their models are. The original filming miniature from the 1980s was 5 foot long, but it was actually single-sided because they just were doing basically side pass shots. And like a lot of things in the Aliens film, it was designed to be realistic and very industrial. It wasn't supposed to be the latest and greatest, but it also wasn't supposed to be a completely obsolete clunker. Just a workhorse type ship. Of course, Aliens takes place in the year 2179. And at this point, the Conestoga class had been in service for a few decades. This was the 13th in her class, so it was pretty mass-produced. And she was known as the Unlucky 13. She had been involved in several accidents, onboard fires, which are a real hazard for any spacecraft, present day and the future. She also had some docking accidents, ramming into things, being rammed into, and she was also hit with friendly fire during a few operations, so she had a bit of a reputation. Nice to know that some things, like sailors, never change. But she was also an old, sturdy ship. She's about 1,260 feet long, 385 meters. She's about 78,000 tons standard, or without cargo, and up to about 100,000 tons when fully laden. She can have a standard long-term crew of up to 90. Although in the Aliens film, there's only 14 on board plus Ripley, so 15. She has an artificial intelligence commanding her and is fully autonomous. This makes sense in universe because even 57 years earlier with the Nostromo, she had a pretty advanced artificial intelligence herself. But just as a safeguard, an executive officer is assigned on board these ships to monitor the AI as well as the ship's function. And this would be Mr. Bishop, Lance Hendrickson. And he was really the only crew member that seems to have been permanently attached to the vessel. She was 6 decks, 4 of which were habitable. The other 2 were machinery and storage decks for oxygen and other things. Her primary power source was a lithium hydroxide fusion core. For sublight speeds, she had 4 main rocket motors in the back that were powered by industrial diamond as a reaction mash. Sorry, it has been a long day. That's about the time I get to do these videos, though. And for faster than light travel, FTL, she is equipped with a tachyon shunt. What does that mean? Hell if I know. Sounds good though, right? And is capable of making about 0.74 light years per day. So pretty fast, at least seems to be. This means that during her mission from Earth to LV-462, aka Hadley's Hope, aka the fucking alien planet, stay the hell away, please, please, please stay away. It took her between 3 and 4 weeks to get there, which is why the crew were in suspended animation, hypersleep, freezers. As far as her onboard equipment, in the film she has 2 of the UD-4 dropships, but she can carry up to 8. She can also carry up to 4 larger dedicated assault craft or air combat interceptors. And she can also carry EEVs, emergency evacuation vehicles, which we saw in Alien 3, a film that really just shouldn't exist. How do you kill a little girl? I mean, it's bad enough killing Michael Biehn, but a little girl, Jesus Christ. Plus Bishop. Anyway, I digress. I have feelings on that. Yes, she was pretty well automated, so the crew were in suspended animation. Bishop could monitor them if needs be, and they pretty much did their own thing. There are plenty of weapons lockers, mess hall, storage facilities, weapons practice areas, whatnot on board. As far as offensive weaponry on the craft, she had 8 long-range interplanetary missiles. She had 4 railguns and turrets. She had 2 particle beam guns that basically acted like directed EMPs. She also had a couple of point defense lasers, but that's getting more into defense versus offense. And she could carry 60 orbital mines and up to 80 MIRVs, basically re-entry vehicles that could be equipped with bombs, bunker busters, penetration, or nuclear ordnance. so she could be pretty well kitted out. For defense now, her hull was created with materials, carbon-type materials, and treated with a substance to make her, if not stealthy, given a limited radar and heat signature. She also could carry 20 drone modules and 2 autonomous drones to draw fire away. And of course, could use her speed to outrun. Also, in kind of a tangential thing, she was designed in such a way with her drop bays for the drop ships that she would not have to use power. She could actually put herself in a retrograde orbit, a degrading orbit, and then dip into the upper atmosphere of a planet, release her drop ships, let the planet's gravity pull them out, and then maneuver back up out of the atmosphere. The Conestoga class was not atmospheric capable. It would be crushed like a tin can. But it could dip into the atmosphere, put its belly in, release its payload, and then fly back up and establish a stable orbit again. And again, all of this could be done by the artificial intelligence on board. So kind of a neat little quick-in maneuver. At least I think so. And kind of putting Marine teams on the ground or in the air. So with that, let's talk about what they would have used on the ground in the air. The Cheyenne. The UD-4 Cheyenne Utility Dropship 4. This is the UD-4L, one of the more advanced variants, and the one we saw in Aliens. Actually, we saw 2, Bug Stomper and Smartass. Like I said, this is kind of a UH-1 Huey, but with more firepower, like an AH-64 Apache or an A-10 Warthog. It was originally designed in universe as a transport, but close air support abilities, ground attack, were added, much like with the Huey. She's about 85 feet long, about 41,000 pounds standard, and can carry up to 35,000 pounds in cargo, meaning a total weight of 76,000 pounds. Although when this fully loaded, there are some restrictions. She can drop out of the belly of a ship like the Conestoga class, powered or unpowered. And she has ram rockets for upper atmospheric flight and turbines for lower atmospheric flight where the air is thicker. She can get up to Mach 12 in an atmosphere. And she has a standard crew of 2, a pilot and a weapons officer or payload officer, although, much like with the Conestoga, she can operate autonomously through computers and what have you. She can carry up to 60 troops, or she can carry 1 M577 APC, and that can have about a dozen inside of it. So you have some options there. Her primary gun is a 25 millimeter caseless multi-barrel rotating cannon up here. It's in a small turret. It can rotate about 180 degrees, and it can move up and down about 60 degrees. It's fed from a 900 round drum magazine and additional drums are typically kept on board. It has 4 extendable weapons pods. These are the 2 primaries. They can carry guided missiles, either air to surface or even air to air, as well as other ordnance. But they really can only be used when the aircraft is at lower speeds, subsonic flight. They need to be retracted when it goes above Mach 1. Although the secondary pods here can still be used up to about Mach 2. And they carry a little bit less advanced ordnance, more like dumbfire rockets and what have you. But they do give some options. The aircraft is designed to be easy to pilot and dependable. It's also designed to be as lightweight as possible with a kind of a multi-layer fiberglass polymer alloy skin, because it is still a spacecraft. Has a very distinctive tail on the back, kind of like an F4 Phantom if you think about it. It has engines here. It can vertically take off and land, or just hover, so much like a helicopter or a Harrier. Has a big old ramp in the back for offloading the APC or other cargo. It has these skids on the bottom that can retract. It does have some radar absorbing material in the hull to help with stealth again. And it's just designed to engage targets. Some Cheyennes are more dedicated for transport, even able to go from ship to ship, while others are more dedicated for close air support, something Marines have had and always probably will want to have going into the distant future. So, yeah, it's a pretty straightforward, rugged ship. It has kind of an odd juxtaposition that it's known for being very reliable and easy to use in the field, yet when it comes to maintenance and keeping her up and running and repaired, it's a bit of a resource and time hog. But, you know, it is a spacecraft, atmospheric craft, a multi-role craft that has to meet a lot of needs. And it's very common throughout the US Colonial Marine Corps. And apparently is quite vulnerable to aliens. Because it didn't take a whole lot for them to knock one of these down. And there are other versions in universe, from the UD-4B all the way through the J and so on and so forth. This is the one from the film. Ironically, this model is a little bit bigger than the Sulaco, and even in the movie Aliens, the model of the Cheyenne was a little bigger. Actually, they had multiple models of it for different scenes, but it was bigger than the Sulaco too. So, and it really was designed with kind of a nod to the Vietnam War in that aesthetic. The Huey, the F4 Phantom. Some point to the Apache is also an influence, but the truth is, when this was being designed, the Apache was very new. And anyway, the whole movie was more of a tribute to Vietnam than anything else. And this was the Marines' craft. And since it is analogous to a helicopter in a lot of ways, that does kind of make the Conestoga class more of a helicopter carrier, which makes a lot of sense. And a few final thoughts on the models from Eaglemoss and the designs in general. The Sulaco here is definitely very industrial. And it definitely is doing the whole submarine in space thing. And that's pretty neat. It is kind of like if you took a battleship and made it into a submarine and then stuck it in space. It does kind of remind me of the DY-100, the Botany Bay con ship too, because it too is submarine inspired, but it didn't have turrets. And, well, I wouldn't mind if Eaglemoss had made this model a bit bigger. It is heavy, and they did at least use a lot of metal. Very solid feeling. And while I do kind of wish the turrets moved, I understand that's just not how Eaglemoss's manufacturing is set up. It's just one of those things. It's a shame Hobby Master or Corgi didn't make it, maybe, but I don't know. It's still nice. Adds to the collection, and it's just an iconic piece of science fiction. It's also something that I really didn't know what it looked like before I got this model in a long time ago. So I was really happy just to know what a ship for one of my favorite childhood movies really looked like. Because, I mean, while the events don't really take place on the Sulaco, the whole film, like they do the Nostromo and the first one, it's very prominently featured in the beginning and the end of the film. And I just have a thing for military ships, as you know from my World War II ships videos. Again, it's a very industrial design, but not so much so that it's meant to look clunky. It does still look futuristic and sleek, and that's neat. As for the dropship over here, funnily enough, it comes with a stand that it just sits on. By the way the Sulaco fits in its stand, it's one of the very few Eaglemoss models that has a small hole for the stand. I guess they just, because it's so kind of tall and narrow, I guess they were worried about it falling off. I can't blame them. This, though, because of what it is, you can just even sit it down. Just sits on its stand. And while it is physically bigger than the Sulaco, it actually weighs the same or maybe even a little less because it has a lot more polymer going on. The weapons pods, the tail, the landing gear. Really the only metal is the core, the metal, the box. And I really wish this one did have, I mean, the Sulaco not having moving turrets is fine, really, but I really wish this one came with retracting moving pods, because it's neat to have them fully out like this, but it'd also be neat to have them retracted in and kind of a in-flight drop mode when it's real slender and everything. Same goes for the landing skids. It's nice that they're out with the doors, but it'd be neat if they could be plugged in either in or out like on a Corgi or Hobby Master. This really is one that I wish they could have done that for. On the other hand, the size is quite good. I don't think I'd want it a lot bigger. It's a good size for the level of detail here. And again, a very iconic vessel from a very iconic franchise. So with that, I guess I will let you go. So what do you think of these and the revisiting with the camera? What do you think of the aliens designs? Let me know in the comments. As always, if you could, like, share, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. This is Misha. Catch you very soon. Next time.